Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much
Hi,
for
sir.
joining in. We will be starting with our session shortly. We'll just wait for a couple more minutes for others to come in as well, and then we'll get started. Uh, गुड इवनिंग एंड आने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम अपना सेशन जल्दी ही शुरू करेंगे। हम बस कुछ मिनट और इंतज़ार करेंगे ताकि बाकी लोग भी जुड़ जाए एंड देन हम आज का सेशन शुरू करेंगे।
Okay, sir.
हे दोस्तों, वेलकम टू अपना कम्युनिटी। ये वो जगह है जहां आप अपने असली पोटेंशियल को एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं। देखो, सबके पास स्किल्स होते हैं, पर क्या आपके अंदर वो स्पार्क है जो आपको कामयाबी की ऊंचाइयों तक ले जा सकता है? अगर आप सोच रहे हैं जॉब चेंज करने के लिए लेकिन रेज्यूमे सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा या फिर इंग्लिश में इंटरव्यू देना थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग लग रहा है, तो फिक्र मत कीजिए। यहां हम हैं आपके साथ, आपको सपोर्ट करने के लिए। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगी बेहतरीन कम्युनिटीज जहां आप अपने प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स को सुधार सकते हैं। चाहे आप एक्सेल, टैली, जीएसटी में माहिर बनना चाहें या फिर आप खुद एक ब्यूटिशियन या डिजाइनर हैं, तो यहां आप अपने काम को शोकेस करके दूसरों को टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स देते हुए आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगा मेंटर्स का एक खजाना और बड़े इन्फ्लुएंसर्स का साथ जो आपको हर कदम पर 1-to-1 गाइड करेंगे। यहां आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं अपने फील्ड या इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक ग्रुप्स, जहां आपको ऐसे कई लोग मिलेंगे जिनसे सीख के आप वो गलती ना करें जो वो कर चुके हैं। ऐसे लोगों की जिन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था एज एग्जीक्यूटिव्स एंड आर नाउ सक्सेसफुल मैनेजर्स इन देयर डोमेन्स, जो आपको आगे बढ़ाने में मदद करेगा। यहां आपको मिलेगा वो सही डायरेक्शन जो आपकी करियर को नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाएगा। तो लेट्स अनलॉक योर पोटेंशियल टुगेदर। अपना कम्युनिटी में ज्वाइन करें और अपने सपनों की ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचने का सफर शुरू करें।
Hey, hi everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining in. We'll be starting with our session right now, and for anyone who has come in for these sessions for the very first time, let me quickly give an introduction about what we are doing here, why these sessions are conducted in the first place. So we do these sessions as a part of Apna's Community Exclusives initiative, and we've been doing these webinars, free webinars, every day from 7 p.m. The main objective of these webinars, these sessions, is to help you grow in your own professional career and also help you get better jobs, upskill yourselves. So in these sessions, we cover a wide range of topics, starting from things like spoken English, interview preparation, technical skills, upskilling, things like that. Today's particular session is focused around how you can get a job in coding. Like if you're interested in coding, how you can get a job in there, what kind of preparation you need, what kind of resume and interview prep you should be well versed with. That's what we are going to discuss today. And for that, we have Ashwin here with us. Uh, hi Ashwin, good evening, and thank you so much for joining here with us. Ashwin is a founding engineer at Cone and has also worked as a software engineer in Google. I think this is the second session Ashwin is taking here for us. He has already helped a lot of users earlier on to understand a little bit more about the technical jobs, interviews, and how it goes on. So we have Ashwin here with us once again to talk about this particular topic. Ashwin, thank you so much for joining in. I'll quickly ask you to, introduce yourself, introduce the session, and let people know what we can cover here today.
So, hi everyone. Today's session is going to be about the journey of cracking a coding job. We are going to talk about how you should approach the preparation, how you should approach your resume building, and in preparation also we are going to talk about different phases that when you an interview is when you don't have any immediate interview, how you prepare, and closer to interview, what changes you should have in your preparation strategy to prepare. So, let me start. So, starting with the introduction of myself, I graduated as BTech in Computer Science from IIT Guwahati in 2020. I joined Google directly after completing my graduation and worked there for a little more than 3 years. There, I was earlier part of Nest and Explore team, which build simulator for Nest devices. Nest is Google's range of smart home devices. I worked on Groups platform where I managed the backend of Google Groups, and Google allows something called as a 20% project where you put your 20% time either working with some other team or working on some self project, obviously with the approval of your manager. So I did 20% project in food search team. So if you search for, let's say, burger near me on Google, and it returns you the restaurant serving a burger. So this search is served by the food search team. I've been actively taking part for Google both in their on-campus drive and for lateral hiring, and have taken more than 30 interviews. 7 months back, I left Google to join an early stage startup to see how something is built from scratch. Okay, so that was about me, and I would also love to know more about you. So, first, like, who are you? Are you student, fresher, or working professional? You can type your responses in the chat box.
Just a quick note, everyone who's on the call, please feel free to use the chat. If you have any questions, any doubts, do ask them on the chat here. And the more you interact, the more you engage on chat, the better we will be able to understand if you're able to follow. So, like how Ashwin mentioned, please let us know what you're currently doing. If you're a student, if you're a fresher, if you have experience, let us know on chat so that we understand who all have joined this session, and accordingly we can, structure the session accordingly. I hope everyone is comfortable here in English because we'll keep most of the session in English. In case you have any issues, just let us know on chat. We can try to cover that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, fresher, BCA, MSc. Okay, okay, and okay. So most of people are students here, either doing their bachelor's or master's. Okay, and what is your current preparation status? Have you not started preparation at all? Are you done with theory but you have to practice? Are you doing practice but you feel that you are unable to solve questions, or you feel that okay, you are fully prepared? Okay, moving ahead. So yeah, like I said, we are going to first cover what should be our approach to preparation, and then we are going to focus on some resume tips and some interview tips. So preparation. So when you are at very beginning that you have not even covered theory, then it's good to solve question topic wise, and there you can select any resource that you want. So like many people spend a lot of time figuring out that okay, which resource should I follow for theory, which resource should I follow for practicing questions. So the thing is, in any resource, they are going to talk about different data structures and algorithms. So all of those are facts. So it is not like that in one resource it is going to say that okay, linked list has time complexity this, but in other resource it would be completely different. Everything related to data structures and algorithms are facts, and it is not going to change no matter which resource you are following. So the difference between various resources is that every person has a different way of teaching, and every person has a different way of learning. So you should follow the resource whose teaching style matches your learning style. So you can try out various resources and then you can see that okay, which resource works the best for you, and you can accordingly follow that resource. So when you are solving a question, you uh, even when you're solving a question topic wise, now how should you select the question, in which order you can do so? I have used lead code, so I can only provide you some specific examples on how to approach lead code. So lead code has a column called as acceptance rate. So when you are solving question, it's good to sort the question on decreasing acceptance rate. So what does acceptance rate mean? So let's say acceptance rate is 50. It means it takes an average person two tries to solve that question similarly, and acceptance rate 25 means that it takes an average person four tries to solve that question. So we should sort the question on basis of acceptance rate and first solve those questions whose acceptance rate is high, so that you can actually so that you you will be able to easily solve that question, because many people are able to solve that question in first try. When you uh, do this solve questions in a topic based manner, you will be able to identify what are your strong topics and what are your weak topics. At that point, you can switch to random selection. You have now covered all your theory part. You have now identified what are your weak topics. Now you should do questions randomly. So, like earlier, if you're following lead code, then you would go to a particular topic in lead code, sort it using acceptance rate column, and then solve it. But now you just go to the home page and then sort it using acceptance rate column and then solve it. And maybe depending upon how many weak topics you have a balance between solving questions randomly as well as solving questions which are of your weak topics. So now how should you approach to solving a question? So see, when you are solving a question, our main motive is not to just solve that question, not to just learn the solution to that problem, but to extract maximum knowledge out of it. So, if there are multiple uh, approaches to solve that question, you should be aware of all those multiple approaches. So, how will you know about these multiple approaches? So, LeetCode has a discussion page for every problem, and there people put in not just their solution but also their approach and thought process. So even if you're able to solve that question, go through the discussion page, sort it using most number of votes, and then look at the different discussions and see if the someone has solved that question in some different approach. Maybe that learning will come in handy at later point of time. And even if someone has solved the question with the same approach and they are using the same coding language as you are, you should look at their solution, because they might be doing something different which might be more optimized both in terms of running complexity of code and optimized both in terms of the time it takes to write that code. You want that in an interview you are able to write the code as fast as possible. So if it is possible to perform the same action in smaller number of lines of code, if it is possible to use a standard library to perform some action, then you should do that. That will save your time in a test or an interview. So this is for the questions that you were able to solve. Now let's come to the questions that you weren't able to solve. So if when someone decides that okay, they aren't able to solve a question and they give up, they just go and look at the complete solution logic, and then they go and look at the complete code. So you should not do that. You should use the solution as a hint and approach it incrementally. That okay, you would go and see that it has mentioned that okay, they use this approach to solve that question. So okay, now you have a hint. You try thinking along those lines that okay, can you apply this approach and are you able to solve that question? Now if no, then okay, go and read one paragraph more of solution. So and then see key, and then see whether you are able to solve the question now. And in this way, look at the solution in an incremental manner. And if you are unable to solve the question and you look at the complete logic, then still code yourself, because many times if it is something new in the logic, then it will be something new in the code also. So you should also code yourself the questions which you aren't able to solve. Okay, so this was the preparation section. So before moving to next section, do you have any of you to have any question?
Yeah, I think we have one question from Anikesh. Anikesh, yeah, please go ahead. You have a question. You can unmute yourself.
सर बेसिकली मैं ये जानना चाहता था इस मीटिंग का पर्पस क्या था एक्चुअली? ये
Okay.
यही नहीं है क्लियर।
ओके ओके सो ये बेसिकली हमारे एक्सक्लूसिव सेशंस है। ये हम इंफॉर्मेटिव वेबिनार्स क्रिएट करते हैं डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स के ऊपर। आज का सेशन हमारा कोडिंग जॉब के रिलेटेड है। अगर कोई कोडिंग जॉब चाहिए तो क्या क्या प्रिपरेशन उसको उनको करना चाहिए, कैसा रेज्यूमे होना चाहिए, उसके बारे में हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। ये प्योरली इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशंस होते हैं एंड फ्री सेशंस हैं, तो आप आगे के सेशंस भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं।
ओके ओके एंड ओनली कोडिंग के लिए है
नहीं नहीं
राइट?
नहीं, हर दिन अलग अलग टॉपिक्स हम कवर करते हैं। आप हमारे वेबसाइट पे चेक कर सकते हैं, आपको आगे के सेशंस की भी डिटेल्स वहाँ पर मिल जाएंगे।
ओके सर, ओके
Yeah, yeah,
ओके, थैंक यू
yeah, no
थैंक यू।
problem. Thank you. Okay. I think we have a few questions in the chat as well. Let me just quickly go through those. Okay. Theoretically easy to understand concepts, or finding it difficult to code individually without help. Any suggestions for this, Ashwin?
Yeah, so like I said, that if you are unable to solve a question, you should focus on the thought process and not on the solution. So when you are looking at a solution, look at that, okay, what were the triggers or hint in the question due to which that person approached this question in that particular manner, and analyze the approaches that you were trying. Analyze what was wrong in your approaches that those approaches weren't able to solve that question. So in this way, you will be able to in this the next time you are solving a question, you won't spend wasting your time trying any incorrect approaches, and you will be able to come to the most optimal way faster, because in an interview we have a ticking clock, so we should not waste our time trying some incorrect approaches. So whenever you try an approach and it doesn't work, analyze what was wrong in that approach, why that approach doesn't work in for that particular question.
Okay. There's another question which is asking about how is the scope for medical coding. I'm not sure what the answer, like what the question is, but yeah, if Harshit, if you're on the call, can you unmute yourself? Can you explain what you specifically want to ask? Harshit, if you're on the call, you can unmute yourself. We want to understand what you mean by the question. Ashwin, do you understand the like what is the question actually about?
No,
Okay, okay.
I also don't
Yeah.
understand.
Okay. Harshit, so we'll need some more clarity. If you can unmute yourself, we can go ahead with it. Otherwise, we will take this question later. Yeah. Is there anyone else?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, Gaurav,
My
do you
name
have a
is Gaurav.
question? Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
Very good evening, Mr. sir. और very good evening to the sir. सर
Gaurav?
बेसिकली
Yeah.
ये जो मीटिंग आप ले रहे हैं,
Mm-hmm.
ये मीटिंग जस्ट लाइक द कोडिंग सीखने के लिए है या कोडिंग के रिगार्डिंग जो जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है उसको अवेल करने के लिए?
कोडिंग के रिलेटेड जो जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज है उसमें प्रेपरेशन आप कैसे कैसे कर सकते हो वो हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। लाइक आपका रेज्यूमे इंटरव्यू क्या उससे पहले
तो
की जो प्रेप होती है उस वो हम डिस्कस कर
या
रहे हैं।
तो उसमें तो हम किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन लाइक जैसे कोडिंग निंजाज है ना,
हम्म
और
हम्म
भी इंस्टीट्यूशन वहाँ पे हम
हम
डायरेक्टली
आपको
ज्वाइन
कोडिंग
करके भी कर सकते हैं।
हम आपको कोडिंग नहीं सिखा रहे हैं यहाँ पे। हम बस यही चीज़ें सिखा रहे हैं कि अगर आपको रेज्यूमे इंटरव्यूज के लिए कैसे प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा, मतलब आप टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स सिखा रहे हैं,
करेक्ट करेक्ट, या या
अब समझ आ रहा है।
ओके ओके। Yeah, I think there's one more question from Ishwar. Can you suggest particular programming algorithms in which we have to approach problems like sliding window?
I am not able to understand the question. Sliding window is itself an algorithm. So what are you trying to ask, sir? It's not clear to me.
Ishwar, can you unmute yourself if you're on the call? आप unmute करके पूछ सकते हैं ईश्वर।
Can you suggest anything that kind of algorithms in which way, like, first of all, when we see a problem, the approaches in which we have to think about the solution of the problem?
Okay, so see, the it is going to be very specific to the question. So, like, let's say the question is talking about anything related to paths, then you are going to think right away about graph. if the question is thinking about finding minimum or maximum search value, you are going to think around binary search. If so, there is no generic answer that, okay, if the question is talking about this, you start thinking about that, because there are a lot of factors that uh, must be considered before we select an algorithm. So that's why uh, this is an analysis that you have to do as you prepare, so that you are subconsciously aware of this information. I cannot give you a list that, okay, if question contains this term, then you start thinking along this algorithm. So this is something that you will learn with practice, and rather than you should not focus questions thinking around that, okay, if the question is of this type, maybe what kind of algorithm I can apply. Think that, okay, what the question is talking about, think what they are asking, and the algorithm will get built on its own.
Ashwin, do you want to take one last question before we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is from Navyata. So she's mentioned that she's completed a non-IT, that's BE in Triple E, a bachelor's in Triple E, and is doing an HR in MBA in HR, sorry, and has been working as a HR professional. So how can she prepare to transition into an IT job?
Okay, so if you want to transition from non-IT to IT, we need to focus on two things. First is learning coding, and second part is showcasing your skills to the recruiters. If you, for the people who have done an IT degree, they would know, they would have the related skills, so it's easier for them. So for you, you can either look at YouTube videos. There are a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of free resources available on how to learn coding. You can do that. You can also take up any paid courses. There are a lot of companies that provide upskilling on getting into coding jobs, and this will build your skills. The second part is then showcasing your skills. So for that, either you could start building your own projects that you can put in your resume. Those projects, through those projects, you will be able to highlight your skills, or you can also take part in hackathons. So hackathons, because the most troubling part of working on your own project is figuring out what to build. So if you're working on a hackathon, you have a clear cut problem statement, so you have some idea on what to build. And because the hackathons have a deadline, so you also don't procrastinate. You have to complete the project by that particular time. So that gives you a push, and generally people are able to complete their projects if that is part of a hackathon. And if your project actually wins something in hackathon, then it will also go in the achievement section of your resume. So that will increase the value of resume even further. Participating in hackathon is not just for people who are transitioning from non-IT to IT. Even for the IT folks, I suggest that you should participating as many hackathons as you can. Uh, there Through hackathons, you will be able to get more good projects to put on your resume, and if you get a prize, you are also going to get achievements to put on your resume.
I think we are good to go.
Okay, so uh, so the resume should never be more than one page. There are a lot of different resume templates available. You can just Google for IT job resume template, and you are going to see a lot of different templates. Any template is fine as long as it is a one pager. And the specific things that you should take care of, I have bold the keywords. Now, what are the keywords? The keywords are the name of the technologies and frameworks that you have used to build your project. And keywords are also the metrics or the impact of your project. So let's say this is basically for people who have some experience in IT jobs. So when you are mentioning the work that you have done as part of job, you should write the metrics that, okay, this led to this much decrease in latency. This led to this many increase in sign up. And when you're talking about impact of your work, don't just mention the tech impact that, okay, that I built something which handles these many users, etc. Also mention the business impact. You have to remember that recruiters are not actually engineers. So are, if you mention too much technical details in your resume, the recruiters will get lost. And even if you have done some like really amazing work, they won't be able to follow through. So you have to word your resume in such a way that even a non-engineer person is able to understand what you have done. So for that, you should mention the business impact of your work. That okay, you worked on this. This led to XYZ cost reduction. You worked on this. This led to this many increase in user retention. That's the business impact, and that is something that any person, whether they are from Edge background or non-Edge background, they will be able to understand. And many people put in a lot of certifications or courses on their resume. See, the courses are just for your knowledge. Recruiters don't care about the certifications because they don't want you to say that, hey, I know C++ because I have done this particular course. They want you to showcase your skills. If you're saying you know C++, it should not be through a certification. It should be through a project. Because they are looking for practical knowledge, not just theoretical knowledge. So you don't just mention that you have the skills so that you have the skills. You work on projects which focus your skills and write those and write those projects on your resume. Writing certifications on your resume rarely ever helps. And make sure there are no grammatical error, no spacing error, etc. on your resume, because a recruiter is going to look at your resume for just a couple of seconds. So if they get a slight red flag there, slight thing which they dislike, they are just going to move to the next candidate. So your resume should be in perfect state. So for me, when I was applying for a job, I must have proofread my resume 50 times. And each time I used to proofread, I used to notice some mistake and used to then fix that. So keep on proofreading your resume every day. You are going to find some mistake, no matter how minor it is. Keep on fixing that. That is going to make your resume very crisp. And when the recruiter is going to look over that, they are actually going to like it. Okay, so does anyone have any question on this particular section?
I think Sumit had a question. Sumit, do you want to ask your question? Are you on the call? Okay. Yeah, we have one question from Ishwar again. Do recruiters care about projects? Because many projects are available online for free. How can a real project have some value?
Look, yes, a lot of projects are available for free, but if we start thinking along then you can also just mention anything on your resume, and in that way, there is really nothing that the recruiter can depend upon. So recruiters care about projects a lot because they specify your skills, and if someone has not actually made that project but just mentioned it, such people get highlighted in the interviews round, because in interview, the interviewer is going to go through your resume. They are going to ask in detail about the project, and they're always going to ask for the project which is related to something that they are knowledgeable about. So if you say that you have worked upon a project related to ML and your interviewer is a ML person, then they are going to go very deep into that project, asking how you build it, why you did it this way, etc., etc. And if you have not done it yourself, that will get flagged, and that is a very, very a big red flag. So many companies just blacklist the candidate if they figure out that that person was lying on their resume. So yes, it is possible to just uh, download a project online for free and mention on your resume, but it won't actually take you a long way. You might be able to crack one interview, but not more than that.
Okay. There's another question from Navitha. She mentioned that, even if we get in as a fresher into IT by cracking interview, they provide training, and if we get this, can we excel? Navitha, I'm not sure of the question. Are you asking that is the after job training useful? Is that what you want to clarify? If you're on the call, you can unmute yourself. While we wait, in the meantime, if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. You can ask the questions directly. Yeah. Okay. We have one question from Pratik. How to improve coding? Like how to practice as a beginner? We have difficulty in creating logic and then converting the logic into actual code. So, like, what would be the baby steps? I think that's what
Yeah.
he's trying to ask. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, when you are practicing as a beginner, you first of all don't have expectations higher that you will be able to solve most of the question. Every question is going to teach you something new, so it is expected that for most of the question you will have to actually look at the solution. But when you're looking at the solution, don't just learn the solution, look at the thought process, look at why this particular thing was done in this particular way. If the if the a person who solved the question has used binary search, think that okay, why were we able to apply binary search? If they have used two pointers or sliding window, think that are why are we able to apply sliding window here? Like, one mistake many people do in the beginning is that in most of the questions sliding window won't work if the input has both positive and negative values. But so, and they don't realize this, and even in the question which has negative values in input, they try to solve it via sliding window and it doesn't work. So you have to analyze that why this particular algorithm solves this question. You have to analyze why this particular algorithm doesn't solve this question. Keep on doing this analysis, and with time you will be able to solve question. So don't give up, be persistent. I know it takes time, but that's how everyone learns.
Okay. I think yeah, we've already covered this answer. What Ishwar was mentioning, that if you pass the interview somehow by cheating, can we survive in the job since they're giving training?
For most of the companies, the training they gave is not very useful. So their expectation is that you will be at some level and they will just maybe upskill you by 10%. It's not like you would come there with no skills and expect that that training is going to teach you everything. It is just a very small delta that their training provides. So if you somehow crack the interview through cheating, it gets flagged when you are actually working in the company. You cannot depend upon the training.
Yeah, in most cases, the training would only be related to, what the company wants out of you, like exactly the project that they have for you, not like teaching you skills from scratch. So you can't really depend on that. You have to have, the skill sets that you've mentioned on the resume. Otherwise, yeah, you'll definitely get caught. So please don't try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so just to give an example, so when companies are taking interview, they don't care about the specific programming language, So they are always open that, okay, you can give the interview in C, C++, Java, Python, Go, whatever language you are comfortable with. But it might happen that, okay, in your past you have used C++ and the company uses Java. So then they will train yourself, give you some time to learn Java. But you will be able to learn Java if you actually know coding, because they are not going to give you like couple of months to do that. They're just going to give you a couple of weeks. And if you have earlier good grasp over the programming language, then learning a new programming language is much easier and can be done in a week itself. So that's what the training is. It is just very specific to their project and their work, and it is just going to make a minute delta difference.
Yeah, I think we have covered all the questions. If there's any more questions, we can ask now. Otherwise, we'll move on. So, anyone else who wants to ask any questions as such, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, okay. I think there's no more questions right now. We can go ahead.
Okay. So next come interview. So let's say you have an interview lined up. So how should you approach? So first of all, when you are practicing, you might not be caring too much about the time it is taking you to solve a question, because it's fine. Yeah, you are learning, and it is expected that it is going to take you a longer time to solve questions. So that's fine. But when you are closer to interviews or your actual company-related test, you should focus on the time you are taking. And let's say if the interview is for 60 minutes, you should aim that you are able to solve the question in 45 minutes. Because in an interview environment, you are nervous, there is an added stress which reduces your performance, and also the interview. If it's a 60-minute interview and it is expected that they're going to ask just one question, you won't get the whole 60 minutes on that question. In the beginning, the interviewer is going to discuss something about your background, maybe some other tech related questions, something related to your resume, and then come to the question. So you should aim that you are able to solve a question in less duration than what you're getting in a test or in an interview. And you should also give lots and lots of mock interviews. So maybe you can uh, uh, sign up for some paid mock interviews, or you can also ask your friend that, hey, I will take your mock interview, you take my mock interview, and in that way prepare. Mock interviews really help, because even if you know you are fake, still you have a person sitting in front of you and judging you, so it also adds that added stress that happens in an interview, and you are able to kind of simulate that environment. And I have seen many people when I'm taking an interview, that they just keep on thinking themselves. They are not communicative enough. So whatever you are thinking, you should share that with the interviewer. Okay, you are just thinking. You don't know whether this is right or wrong. Still, the interviewer won't care. It is not expected that, okay, I give you a question in an interview and you will just go and directly think of the correct approach. It is fine that, okay, sometimes you think of incorrect approach, and then you analyze that, okay, this approach actually doesn't work, so let me think along some other lines. And the interviewer is actually interested in uh, getting that information, that what are the different thoughts that you are getting. So don't worry that whatever you're thinking, whether it's correct or not, just be as much communicative as you can and share as much as you can with the interviewer. And if you're feeling stuck, it is okay to ask for hints. Many people feel that if they have asked for hints during an interview, then they will get a bad evaluation. That's not true. It is completely fine to ask for hints, and the interviewer will also be happy to provide you with hint, and then you can proceed ahead. Okay, so let's move to questions.
Yeah, I think one question we have from Prateek is, where to practice code as a beginner.
Okay, you can refer to LeetCode or any other website. I prefer LeetCode because it is the website that I used, and LeetCode has a discussion page related to each problem. So you and the people are sharing a lot regarding the thought process. So it has a lot of data related to a particular question. So you can practice that, but if you are comfortable with some other website, that's fine too.
Yeah, the next question is from Divya. She's asked that while doing projects, is it enough to learn through YouTube projects and build on our own at first?
Yes, completely. If you the most important thing is that you are building something. It is so even if when you are working in a real job, it is not expected that you are just going to build everything on your own. You are going to use Google, you are going to talk to your teammates on how to approach this particular thing. So it is expected that even in a real world environment, when you are building a project, you are going to refer to multiple resources. So if you are building your self project, it is completely fine to refer to YouTube. The important thing is that, okay, you have built on your own and you know why they use this particular tool.
There's also one question I think we missed out earlier. It was regarding if there's any courses that someone should follow, like any courses that you can recommend, which usually helps a fresher.
Like I said, there are a ton of courses out there, and the only difference between these courses is the way they teach. So you can try looking at different YouTube videos, and with the teacher you're comfortable with, you can start following their courses. I don't want to give any particular courses recommendation because you should figure out which course, which teacher you are most comfortable with.
There's also one question from Ishwar, that they're asking in interviews, I believe they're asking some general logical questions which are not related to any technical skills. So how should we answer them?
So, by logical, do you mean maths related or puzzle related problem, or you are asking about some computer science related question? So, it is expected that they are going to ask about some computer science related things. So, you can refer to, let's say, Geeks for Geeks or any other website have uh, notes related to all the different computer science courses. So, you can go through those notes and freshen up your uh, concepts related to different computer science topics. You can expect that the interviewer might ask something related to OS, databases, or networks in an interview.
Yeah, I think there's one example that she's provided as well. Like how to answer the question like there's a bulb in a room and there are 3 switches in the room. Guess the correct switch to turn the bulb in one chance. Turn on the bulb in one chance.
So a lot of websites also have similar problems, and you can practice those. So these puzzles related questions are no longer asked very frequently, but all the coding websites also have some puzzle related questions. So you can look at this, and even in this question, you should be as much communicative with the uh, interviewer, because it is here also, it is not expected that you will just come up with the correct answer. It is expected that you are going to have a discussion with the interviewer that okay, you are thinking this, but okay, this might not work because of this, so okay, now how to fix that. So the solution always gets built in an incremental manner. First you think of something, then you realize that okay, whether it is correct or not, and accordingly change your approach. So walk the interviewer through whatever going through your mind, walk the interviewer through this thought process.
Okay. If there's any other question someone has, please feel free to, unmute yourself. Ishwar, if you want to have a conversation, if you want to discuss this, if you still have any other queries, please feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah. Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question? Anything else that you want to know?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Sir, I can talk to Hindi.
Yeah. आप बात कर सकते हैं हिंदी में.
ओके सर. सर मैं बोल रहा था कि इस कंपनी में करना क्या रहता है सर, कुछ क्या काम रहता है इस कंपनी में?
ये किसी पर्टिकुलर कंपनी की बात हम नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम ये अगर आपने लेट ज्वाइन किया तो हम बता देता हूँ कि ये एक एक्सक्लूसिव सेशन है. ये हम वेबिनार्स कंडक्ट करते हैं ताकि लोगों को, जैसे आज का पर्टिकुलर सेशन है कोडिंग जॉब्स के रिगार्डिंग, तो कैसे किस टाइप के प्रिपरेशन आपको करनी चाहिए, कैसे आपको इंटरव्यू के लिए प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए, वो चीज़ें हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. ये किसी जॉब रिलेटेड सेशन नहीं है.
ओके सर. और सर मतलब इसमें करना क्या होता है?
नहीं, मतलब ये सेशन कोडिंग के ऊपर है, लाइक सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर है. तो अगर आप इसमें इंटरेस्टेड हैं तो आप इससे कुछ सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. वरना आई थिंक इसमें आपका कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होंगे नहीं.
सर मतलब इसमें केवल सीखना रहता है क्या?
इन सेशंस में हाँ, ये सेशन सिर्फ इंफॉर्मेटिव होते हैं. हाँ.
ओके.
हाँ,
ओके सर.
ये सिर्फ हम सिखाने के लिए करते हैं ताकि अगर आपको कुछ पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक के बारे में सीखना हो, जैसे आज का सेशन जैसे मैंने बताया कोडिंग रिलेटेड था. हम और भी सेशंस
ओके
करते
सर.
हैं
हाँ.
स्पोकन इंग्लिश लेके, इंटरव्यू प्रेप एंड ऑल, तो बाकी सेशंस भी आप अटेंड कर सकते हैं.
ओके सर.
या ओके. एनीवन एल्स, इज देयर
ओके,
एनी
थैंक यू.
अदर क्वेश्चन? किसी और को कुछ सवाल पूछना हो अभी?
I have a question.
या प्लीज गो अहेड.
Actually, I was working in non-IT for the last 2 years. I'm a computer science graduate, but I want to switch to IT. Right now, the openings of freshers were very less. I got few interviews, but I just find it difficult to crack because I'm not an experienced person. I just want to know, is this the right time to switch into IT? And already my age is 24. I am learning myself through YouTube only, React and all. So basically, if I done the project and prepare myself for the interview, can I able to crack the interview as soon as possible, maybe within few months?
Yes, so I know the market right now is very bad and there are very few openings right now, but you should keep on preparing yourself because with time the situation is getting better and better. So you can expect that by the time you have gone through the entire coding and you are very much comfortable in it, the number of openings will also increase and then you will be able to find something easily.
Okay, thank you.
The next question is again from Ishwar. So she mentions that, she has really good skills. But can you suggest any ways in which she can apply for jobs? Like she's been applying on LinkedIn and Naukri, but not getting interview calls. So any other alternative suggestions if you have for her?
Okay, one thing is that if you have good skills but you are not still getting interview calls, then maybe have a look at your resume and see if it actually highlights your skills, highlights everything that you have done, that maybe your resume is not very optimized, that's why it is getting rejected. There are no other avenues other than following LinkedIn and Naukri. The only thing you can try is that maybe try reaching out to when you want to apply to a particular company, try reaching out to someone working in that company and asking for a referral. It increases your chance of getting an interview call.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I think that's about it for the questions. So Ashwin, I just wanted to ask one thing from my side as well. Uh, like as a fresher, is there any particular role or any particular keyword that someone should search for, when applying for jobs? I think a lot of people would like to understand how to find these jobs as well. So in your opinion, which keywords or which job titles are comparatively easier for freshers to get into?
So many companies actually write university graduate in the roles which are specifically for freshers or for people who are currently in their final year. So you can try searching for university graduate.
Okay. No, I'm talking about like the job title. Is there any particular job title as such that they should look for?
Yes, so they do mention software engineer, university graduate, let's say 2024, things
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Right. I think with that, we have come towards the end of the session. If there's no further questions, we can move towards conclusion. Ashwin, if you have any parting words that you want to communicate with the audience here today.
My parting word would be that I know many people feel stuck when they are trying to learn coding, but this is a natural phase that everyone goes through. So don't give up, be persistent. Even if you feel that you're not making any progress, keep on putting in the effort, and with time, you will start seeing the outcome.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, with that, I think we have to, we'll come towards the conclusion of the session for the day. Before we close, just giving a couple of reminders to everyone. Like we mentioned earlier, we do these sessions every day and cover a wide range of topics, which can help in your professional growth. So, make sure to register for more such events. These are all free. And I've shared the link to our website on chat. So, you can check the recording of this session and also other sessions that we've done in the past. You can also register for upcoming sessions from here itself, and we will ensure that you get a invite to join these sessions. Additionally, we've also shared the feedback form, so please let us know how you found this session. If there's any suggestions that you have from us, how we can improve, or any particular topic that you want us to cover, please share through these forms as well. Yeah, all right. So coming towards the end, firstly, starting with a huge thank you to Ashwin for conducting and hosting this session. I really hope people found some useful information and were able to get their doubts sorted. Thank you so much, Ashwin, for your time. And thank you everyone who attended this session and made this a successful one. I really hope we were able to clarify your doubts and help you out in your career's growth. We look forward to seeing you all in the next session that we have, and have a very, very good night. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.